record on my computer. And Diane, you're up. Let's get rolling. This is exciting. I'm happy you're doing this. You have no idea.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, there has been so much interest since I did that talk last month of people wanting to learn more about this. And so I know a couple of you are new to this. So again, it might feel like a foreign language to you, but I want you to take this in because last time when I went into it, it was an hour-and-a-half discussion of just the basics of each number and trying to figure out what your number is and using the book, The Road Back to You, as kind of a great starting point. So if you don't know anything about Enneagram, what is this? This by Ian Cron and Suzanne Stabile, this is a great way to start to learn about yourself. And the idea of it is to learn more what, certain things you don't know about yourself can actually hurt you. They can hurt relationships. And when we're in networking, we want to be able to have the best kinds of relationships with people as possible. And so what this does is it allows you to learn about yourself first, and then you can kind of learn that there are 8 other ways, because there's 9 numbers. So there's 8 other ways that the world reacts to different situations. So sometimes when you think, well, why didn't they do it this way? It's because there's 9 different ways to do it. Well, there are many more than that, but more motivation as to why they do what they do. Because the Enneagram is all about your core motivation. What motivates you to be who you are, act how you are, do what you do, say what you say. And so that's what we're going to learn a little bit more about today. You can obviously learn a lot online about this. I mean, the podcasts I have listened to, hours and hours. I mean, I just am so fascinated by this, and that's why I love sharing this with people. But a lot of the notes today I took from was Beth McCord. She's yourenneagramcoach.com. And then also some info on my Enneagram type on YouTube. So let's just do a quick review of the different types, all right? So ones are the perfectionists. They are, the message they want to hear is that they are good, all right? I say perfectionist / improver. I like to think of it that way too, instead of, because people who hear they're perfectionists, they don't really love to hear that. So the perfectionist improver, they want to hear they're good. They need to live their life in the right way, including improving themselves and the world around them, right? 2s are the helpers and givers. The message they want to hear is that they're wanted for just being them. They need to be loved and valued and to express their positive feelings towards each other, right? Sorry, my computer, I'm trying to move all this so I can see. The third one, number 3, they're the performers. They want to hear that they're loved and valued for being them, that you don't need to achieve more to get their love. They need to be productive, achieve success, and avoid failure. Number 4s are the romantics, right? They want to be seen for who they are as special and very unique. They need to experience their feelings and to be understood, to search for the meaning of life and to avoid being ordinary. That would be boring for a 4. 5s are the observers, investigators. They want to know, the message they want to receive is that their needs are not a problem. They need to know and understand everything to be self-sufficient and to avoid looking foolish. 5s are the loyalists. They want to hear the message that they are safe. They have a need for security. And there's 2 different ways 6s go. They're motivated. 6s are kind of split. They can be motivated by they're outwardly fearful and they seek approval, or they are kind of go against the grain of authority and confront their fears. So a little bit of a difference in that 6s, but their biggest thing is they want to be safe. All right, 7s are the enthusiasts. They want to hear the message that they will be taken care of. They need to be happy and plan enjoyable activities to contribute to the world and to avoid suffering and pain at all costs. 8, the bosses, the challengers, my favorite personally, because that's what I am. You will not be betrayed is the message we want to hear. We will not be betrayed. You need to be self-reliant and strong and to avoid feeling weak or dependent is the big thing of an 8. And then last is 9s, the peacemakers, the mediators. They want to hear that their presence matters. Okay, they need to keep the peace, to merge with others, and to avoid conflict. So they actually have the ability to take on the qualities of all of the other 8 types. So sometimes when people can't figure out their numbers, a lot of times they might be a 9 because they can see themselves in so many of the different numbers. All right. So I would ask for questions, but we'll just kind of save those. If you have questions, maybe stick them in the chat. And then at the end, we can go ahead and address a little bit more of that. But okay, so each number has a healthy and an average and an unhealthy side to it. So the person you are, your number, whatever, you will just kind of naturally autopilot be in the average. But you can also be a more healthier version of yourself by being more aware of things like this. And you can also be a more, unhealthy version of yourself. Okay. So that's one part of it. Then, it sounds complex, but like I said, once you guys get this, there are 4 other numbers that are going to be associated with your number. All right. I'm hoping I'm not losing the new people. You are a main number, and we're going to talk about 4 other numbers that are associated with it. So obviously, if you know your number, it's going to sound a little easier to understand because you're going to be able to relate to the different parts of the different number. But again, just write them down as a basics. Kind of just take some light notes on what you're doing with each, or what you're getting from each number. And then again, you'll start noticing it in other people. But okay, so today we're going to talk about your center of intelligence. Okay, so whether you're in the head, the heart, or the gut triad. We're going to talk about the 2 numbers that are your wings. You go either way. We're going to talk about your number you go to in stress. And we're going to talk about your number in security. And then also, if time allows, we're going to talk about how you live life based on your time orientation, whether if you're more past focused, present focused, or future focused. Okay. Are you ready? Good? Guys doing okay? All right. So first of all, there's 3 centers of intelligence, okay? You are either really good, you're really naturally good at one of them, and you try to repress and push away another one, all right? And then there's one that's kind of more right in the middle. You've got thinking, feeling, and doing, all right? So honestly, we need all of them to be balanced. When responding to the world or a situation, each number has strength, like I said, in one of them, but then they choose to repress another one of those center of intelligence that they don't necessarily like to use because it's not natural. Again, so like, for example, I'm an 8. 8s are doers first. I do first, then I will think about it. And then the one I repress is feelings. So then I have to remind myself I'm supposed to have feelings. Okay, so think about that. All right, so the 3 centers of intelligence: head, heart, and gut. Let's see. The 6s, 5s, and 7s are in the heart triad. They focus on mental analysis and on logical thinking. Okay, hold on one second. All right. 5s are fearful that they aren't going to be able to do things well, so they spend time thinking, studying, and preparing. 6s are anxious about the ability to make decisions and look for validation outside of themselves using thinking to see that. 7s don't want to deal with any negative situations, so they'll rethink and reframe anything to be more positive. Okay, so that's how they're in that heart or that head triad. They're in the thinking triad. Okay, and this is how each one responds to it differently. They struggle with anxiety, all of these, 6, 5s, and 7s. Okay, they struggle with anxiety. Their response, again, is analyzing and thinking. They're more objective, though, since their feelings are removed from the situation. Since they're in the thinking, they think first, okay? The next one is the heart triad. So 2s, 3s, and 4s. So just write down 2, 3, and 4, heart triad. So this is the feelings triad. They operate most out of emotion with feelings, and they struggle with shame and guilt, okay? Then 2s think they don't have needs, right? The helper givers, they think they don't have needs. They are only wanted for what they give and do for others. 3s struggle to believe that they're worthy apart from what they accomplish. They're such achievers, they're the least in touch with their emotions, and they take it in with emotions, but they don't process with emotions. All right, because this is where it sounds a little complicated. Believe it or not, we're going to talk about this later, but 3s, 7s, and 8s are all doing first, then we think, then we remind ourselves we're supposed to have feelings. Okay, so 3s are still in the heart triad, so that comes in with emotion, but then they have to process it because that wouldn't work. They can't be real efficient if they're not processing, if they're having these feelings. Okay. So 4s, they struggle with sadness and melancholy. They feel their shame is from lacking something that everyone else has. Oh, they over-identify with emotions and then stay there for a really long time. They're less objective because they view their feelings as reality. Ever around a 4, who they're just a lot of melancholy, and they're okay with that. They don't want you to fix their melancholy. Okay. But these 3, 2, 3, and 4 are more attached from thinking and doing. Okay. All right. Then the next one is the gut triad. All right. This is, this is the doing triad, the gut triad, 8s, 9s, and 1s. They go with their gut instincts. What feels right, they jump right into doing. Remember, doing is the big part here, but they struggle with anger. So anger is a big part of 8, 9s, and 1s, right? 1s have a lot of resentment. They try to shove that anger down though, because anger would be perceived as bad. And remember, they want things to be good. That's what motivates them. So they're going to shove that anger down. 8s realize that they're angry and use it to dominate and control any situation. Okay. All right. Sorry. 9s deny and repress their anger to remain, to maintain a peace and a harmony, because they want all this peace and harmony, and anger is their main core thing. So they deny it, repress it, push it away. They're the ones that are least in touch with their anger, right? So this group, the gut triad, is very in touch with their body and detached from thoughts and feelings. They're more objective because feelings are removed. Again, they're not thinking about it as much through feelings. So if you have a 2, 3, or 4 talking to you, they have like a feelings filter that they're going to speak to you in, even though they're trying, like the 3 tries to push it away, but that's where it's first being said, out loud. Okay. So, all right. Any questions on the triads, the different groups? Head, heart, and gut? No? Okay. And remember, you can listen to this again later. I've lost you. I hope not. Okay. So all of us have dominant and repressed centers of intelligence, like I was saying. Okay. Work on balancing to use all 3. So I have to work on my feelings. Pete has to work on his feelings. All right. Any 3s, 7s, and 8s, we all have to work on our feelings. All right. That they are important. Become aware of when you're using them. When you're focused on thinking, feeling, and doing, making sure you're hitting all 3 of them. Again, it won't feel natural, but it is possible to learn the balance. So an example is if you're like appealing to a board or a group of people and you're more heart-centered and you want to sound more head-centered, like you want to sound more logical, then pass it through one of your head-centered friends, all right, to get a more objective speech. So it doesn't have so many emotions in it, because that's not going to appeal to everybody if you talk through emotions. That makes sense. Okay? Do them well. All right. Thank you, Jerry. Got it. Okay. So next we're going to talk about wings. Wings are the 2 numbers on both sides of your number, right? We use them to enhance us. Okay. Some can use one wing a little bit more than the other wing, but every bird has 2 wings. So you can go to either one. Sometimes it depends on the situation. You'll kind of pull from either, but again, it just enhances who you are. And it's the number that's next to you. Okay, so if you're a 1, then you wing either towards 2 or towards 9. Okay, remember, because it's kind of a circle. Okay, so if you're a 6, you wing towards 5 or 7. I'm going to go through now the different wings so you guys can figure out, based on your number, maybe which way you tend to wing towards, because the wings make you appear very different to people, right? So 1 wing 9 is called the Idealist. Right? 1 wing 9, Idealist. They tend to be a cooler, more relaxed, introverted, cerebral, okay, so in their head, impersonal, objective, and detached. They still will always do what's right and good though, because your core motivation doesn't change, even if you do take on part of a wing, right? But they're more quiet and withdrawn. Where a 1 wing 2, going towards that helper giver, is called the Advocate. They tend to be warmer, more helpful, critical, fiery, vocal, sensitive, action-oriented, and controlling. More inserting, and assertive to make things right and good. Again, going back to their core. Moving on to a 2. A 2-wing 1 is called the servant. They tend to be more idealistic, reasonable, objective, self-critical, quietly serving, and judgmental. They're more detailed and correct, and they avoid the limelight. So they don't necessarily want the attention, okay? A 2-wing 3, they're the host or hostess. So you can call them 2-wing 3s, host or hostess. They tend to be more self-assured, charming, flatterer, ambitious, outgoing, and competitive. They're drawn to the limelight to help others enjoy more, right? So just using that example of a 2, my mother-in-law is a 2-wing 1, and my best friend is a 2-wing 3. 8s, I don't know what it is. I'm really drawn to 2s. I have a lot of 2s in my life, but they're so different, okay? So if you can tell, one of them's more kind of introverted, the other's more extroverted, one liking the limelight, one not. So just because you've got a couple friends that might be the same number, their wings will really affect which way they come and appear in the world, right? So moving on to 3s, right? 3 is the star, okay? 3-wing 2, the star. They are warmer, more encouraging, sociable, popular, enjoy being the center of attention, and seductive. They're connecting with others in the limelight, wanting to accomplish serving people in the best way. Remember, 3s are the charmers. They're the chameleons. They can become anyone they need to become in a group of people. All right. So now the 3-wing 4, this one, 3 to 4, this is, I don't like calling it bipolar. Jerry, I need a new word because that doesn't sound right. But literally, there is such a difference between 3s and 4s. I also call it between the 8s and 9s. Same thing. I feel like it's almost like I'd be a totally different person if I wing towards 9. But anyways, 3 to 4 is the professional. Remember, the 3s are all about let's be the charmer, let's get everyone's attention, let's make everyone love me. And then 3-wing 4 is the professional. They're more focused on their work, success, and introspection. They're more sensitive, artistic, imaginative, and pretentious. 3 is about image, and 4 only wants authenticity. So the 2 kind of compete together, but then you can draw people in with unity and depth. So there's a lot of differences in there. Like I read this, my husband's a 3, and if I saw that he was introspective and artistic and sensitive, I mean, that like makes me laugh out loud. But I know he's got that wing. They say that you use one wing half of your life, and then as you get older, then you tend to go and use the other one a little bit more. So I'm sure I'll see this in the future sometime. Okay. So moving on to 4s, wing 3, the aristocrat. Okay. Again, this is the strange combo. They're more extroverted, competitive, upbeat, ambitious, emotionally volatile, concerned with their image, and flamboyant. Authentic 4s, yet they're shape-shifting 3s with competition. So it's, again, that kind of pull there, but they're really great with creativity, right? The 4-wing 5s, now we're back into more of a natural kind of togetherness. And if you are any of these that are kind of the pull, it doesn't mean you're bad. It's just you might have more of an internal battle of, am I outgoing now, or do I want to be more introverted? So the 4-wing 5 is called the Bohemian, right? They're more introverted, intellectual, withdrawn, reserved, observant, eccentric, and prone to melancholy. Unique, creative, or they're unique, they love creativity, and they're very eccentric. You're going to hear eccentric a lot with a 4. They're the ones that if you tell them they're normal, they would put themselves into a state of depression. They're the most unique on all of the Enneagram. They want others to marvel in that uniqueness. Okay. All right. 5-wing 4. All right. I really hope I'm doing okay with you newbies, because I know this is a lot for people who just learned Enneagram. But if you look over it again or watch it again, I promise it'll start making more sense the more comfortable you get with the numbers. And the first video was much more informative and less meaty. So 5 wing 4, the Iconoclast, whatever that means. It means that then they can be more creative, humanistic, sensitive, empathetic, withdrawn, and self-absorbed. They're inward in their mind and their emotions. They're more sensitive because they're so attuned to their emotions because they have that 4 wing. 5 wing 6. These are the problem solvers. They're more extroverted, loyal, anxious, skeptical, cautious, and tend to be interested in the sciences. They're very in the headspace. They will pull problems apart just to reconstruct them. Okay? A lot of these people are on Jeopardy. Just saying. Okay? 6 wing 5. The defender. They're called the defender. They're more introverted, intellectual, cautious, focused, paranoid, anxious, and withdrawn. They have few friends that they trust. They're hardworking yet very reactive. Right? 6 wing 7. They're called the buddy. They are more extroverted, materialistic, sociable, playful, funny, energetic, active, and impulsive. They have lots of friends and love to support people. And like I said, they're more energetic. Christina, are you a 6-7? You're muted. Hit your space bar.
I go back and forth between.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good.
Yeah, I can see myself in with both wings.
Yep, exactly. And you'll be different things in different settings. Like to be the 6 wing 5, you at a networking event might not be as powerful for you or your business as being that 6 wing 7. So that's what great part is. We can pull out the different wings that we need in different situations. So, all right. So 7 winged 6. These are the entertainers. They're more loyal, endearing, responsible, outgoing, relationship-oriented, playful, childlike, and anxious. They're grounded and the positive, optimistic, and steady with follow through. And they care what others think. That's the 7 wing 6. Remember, the 7's the entertainer, basically, or the enthusiast. 7 wing 8 is the realist. They're more free-spirited, adventurous, strong, intensity-seeking, quick-minded, creative, and natural leaders. Powerhouse, not wanting to be exhibiting or inhibiting. Okay, so they are powerhouses. Lots of energy and passion, and they don't care as much about what others think. So that's when it's good you can go to different wings, because the 7-6 doesn't really care what other, actually, no. Yeah, they care what they think, but the 7 wing 8 don't care what you think. Okay. 8 wing 7, the maverick. They're the most extroverted, enterprising, energetic, quick, materialistic, power-seeking, and egocentric. Pete, this is me and you, man. They're the most intense energy on the entire Enneagram. You need, as this number, it says to be aware of the energy you bring with you into a room. Okay? We like to lead with the big guns. That's the 8 wing 7. 8 wing 9 is the bear. B-E-A-R, the bear. They are more mild-mannered, gentle, receptive, comfort-seeking, people-oriented, and quietly strong. They have a powerful calm, and they'd rather not use the big guns. They'll reserve that. That's why this is one of those extremes, we'll call it, where to think of that I'm quietly strong or comfort-seeking or gentle, mild-mannered is just funny to me. Like I said, I think as I get older, it's going to change. But there's a big difference between that because the 8s and 9s are just so different.
That's bizarre you say that. And I'll let you get back to it. But having spent 30 years in HR, I had to force into, I had to force into that, what you just described as a bear mode, being in HR leadership. And it drove me nuts, which is why I'm so glad I'm only got my toe in it now. But anyway, 8-7. Yeah. Woohoo.
Yeah,
let's go.
It's there. It's like a secret tool you can grab onto, but you don't necessarily like it. You go to the other wing. But okay, 9-wing 8. They're the comfort seekers. They're more outgoing, assertive, anti-authoritarian. They may vacillate between confrontational and passive. Assertive presence they bring. Energy to get things moving. They have that. They like to stick up for others, stepping into the gap of injustice, because that's a big thing for 8s is they want justice. So they are willing to be uncomfortable and jump into that. They're fiery, but they're still a 9. So they have passion and energy is right under the hood, but it's like they're holding it back. Because remember, 8s want to avoid, or 9s want to avoid conflict at all costs. So, but again, it's right under that hood if they need it. They may blow, okay, but then they'll be fine. That's the great thing about an 8. If we explode, it's usually fast comes back. So if 9s do also and they wing 8, then they can also just get it out and then they're fine. Who knows the path of destruction they left? Call it a hurricane because it's so quick and then the cleanup takes a long time, but they'll be fine, okay? The 9-wing 1 is a dreamer. And this is the last one for the wings. 9-wing 1, the dreamer. They're more introverted, orderly, idealistic, critical, emotionally controlled, focused, cerebral, and compliant. They're subdued and are steady in their emotions. They kind of hide through the prickliness. Sometimes they can seem a little prickly as a 9-wing 1, and you kind of know something's going on because they have more of a louder inner critic that's telling them that everything that's not good or what they're doing is not good, but they'll kind of hide it, but appear prickly. So they're holding it back more to keep it to themselves, again, to keep that, that one wing of being good thing. But again, remember, they're always back in their core, and 9's core is that, avoiding conflict and having peace and harmony. All right. Where are we at? I went through this kind of fast because I know you can listen to it again, but how are you guys doing? Does anybody know what their wing is? Jerry, did you have a question, hon?
I do. I missed, what was 2-wing 1? What was it called?
It was called the servant.
Okay. And would it be possible to get a written version of all of the wings?
Yeah, it's totally plagiarized, but yeah, I can. Oh, you have my chart, Christina. That's why in the beginning, I kind of said where I got these things from, but yeah, as long as you're just using it for yourself, I have it typed out in a Word document. So yeah, then that
would be awesome.
Look at it more. Okay. Yeah.
And then if you want me to answer your question, I am 1-wing 2. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, good. And again, this isn't like confessions of judgment, like everyone's going to get to judge you because they know what you are. Okay. All right. So Mary wants the Word document too. Okay. So yeah, because it's a lot of information, and I have it summed up quicker on the thing Christina was talking about. I got sick of going between 5 or 6 different books. So I put everything into an Excel spreadsheet that just has the basics of every number. So this is really easy to kind of print and look at. But again, totally plagiarized. Okay, so do not use it for anything else.
Are you going to send that out? I have your long explanations.
That is actually straight from what you just showed. That's actually straight from the road back to you. I just printed my dad, who's a 5 and a researcher. He is the one who actually took all of the 20 questions right out of the book before you start the chapter on your number. And he just put them side by side for me so I could send it out as a test. If you show anybody that and say this is the test they took, no one will know what you're talking about because this is a die original. That's how I tell people to take the test. Never seen it anywhere else, but I think it's easiest.
Okay, so how do we get that little Excel spreadsheet?
Well, I can figure it out. I can get it to Pete and all that. It's not perfect by any means. You guys know I'm not an Enneagram expert, just highly intrigued by it and love learning on it. So I'll get that to Pete.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Diane. Sure. So I went through this whole thing and I checked things that I thought were true for me. And I could be one of 4 numbers. I mean, they're, and they're not wings.
Okay, well, some people will, listen to the stuff that I'm saying today and see if something jumps out at you about a number I'm saying that might be more of what you think you are. And then you can maybe dive into it a little bit more. But the biggest way you can figure out your number is knowing what your core motivation is. Okay. So believe it or not, as silly as it sounds, like Pete and my being an 8, our biggest thing is we want to avoid being vulnerable or being taken advantage of. So if that's my core motivation in life, how does that apply to everything? But it can, protecting myself and being in more control so people can't take advantage of me. And you know what I mean? So, but your core motivation is what will decide how you react to the world.
And is that on that Excel spreadsheet, the core
Yeah.
motive?
Yeah, totally. And then I think some people, I've heard of people taking 2 years to figure out what their number is. Sounds ridiculous to me, but you know what? I'm sure it can happen. Okay. So it's more the time spent into it. I know that when I listen to the podcast from Annie F. Downs is her name, Annie F. as in Frank Downs, her podcast on Enneagram Summer called Enneagram Summer 2019. If you think you know your number, listen to the podcast like Enneagram Summer 2019 type 1, whatever it is. And then listen to that. And you'll hear two people, a guy and a girl, and she does like an interview. And then they talk back and forth and answer the questions and talk about their number. It was, I was listening to 8 and I was like, oh my gosh, there's more people like me. I'm not the only one who reacts to the world like I do. Cause I feel like such a, rogue woman most of the time. And so it really helped me to understand that better.
Diane, she also has Enneagram Summer 2020.
Yes. And Enneagram Summer, it's so funny because that would appeal to 6s a lot. Enneagram 2020 is more about how people are dealing with the pandemic and all of that. And so that's really funny because I didn't like it as much. I like 2019 better. And that's so funny that you just mentioned that.
Well, I listen to both just because I just trying to get as much information about it. So
yeah, exactly. So Corey or Ellen.
Could you write that out? Because when you say it fast, I don't get all the.
Annie, Annie.
Okay.
F as in Frank is her middle name. F Downs, Downs.
Thank you.
And she's got a podcast called That Sounds Fun because she's a 7. And Enneagram Summer 2019 is the series. So, all right, other questions?
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. And then again, I listened to it to understand other people too. I listened to every other number and I had everyone look through the questions in my life and figure out what they were. And then I was listening to the 2s and I was thinking about my mother-in-law and thinking about my best friend. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they think that way. And I'm just listening to it. And then I get to another number. It was my sister and going, no wonder and I don't hit it off so well in that area, and it just really explained a lot. So when you know the people in your life, I told people I was studying to learn about Enneagram. So I wanted them to take the 20 question thing, like my test, to see what they were so I could see and understand it better and learn. And so I had my whole family pretty much do it and it helped with everything because now I know how to deal with them so much better knowing where they're coming from. Okay. Other questions? All right, we're good. Okay. So then the next thing we're going to talk about. All right. We still got Cordell and Dennis. You ready? Here we go. Okay. We're going to talk about now, talking about stress and growth. Okay. And Christina, I think that's why I didn't care for the 2020 Enneagram Summer as much because I know people have been operating more out of their stress numbers. And I've been seeing it where you think, gosh, this person is totally not the same person they used to be. And one of the teachers on Enneagram is Suzanne Stabile. She's fantastic. And she's one of the co-writers on The Road Back to You. She's the one that wrote the book, The Path Between Us, which talks about how if you're a 3 with a 6, how your relationship works well, how you can be better for a 3, and understand them better. And how, if you're a certain number, how they can receive you better. It's just great for relationships, The Path Between Us.
And she does have her own podcast.
Yes. And the coolest thing, she's a 2, just saying, she speaks a little slower and you can fast forward and go a little faster with the podcast. So I got through some of them really quickly. It was fantastic. Okay. Or you can slow them down if you need that too. I know people wish they could slow my voice down, but it's so hard. And Enneagram taught me that's who I am. I have the most energy in the whole world. I don't drink caffeine, no coffee, no nothing. This is pure dye. Okay. So anyway, so she talks about stress and growth, and big thing that I heard from her that I loved was she said that she would counsel people, like even married couples, and she would hear the wife say, my husband came back from Afghanistan after war, and he is totally a different person. And she talked about how that's how you know that your core motivations do not change. Like she really believes that your number is your number is your number. It is not going to change. But if somebody is acting completely different, it could be because of something like PTSD or severe stress that has literally taken them to a completely different number, the unhealthy to average version of that number. All right. So if there's somebody in your life that they like flipped and you're just like, what is going on? I don't understand. And I'm sure Jerry in counseling, you see it a lot where people just don't feel like themselves. They're in just a completely different version of themselves and they don't understand it. Something's not right. So like I said, if you feel like you're a different person, when you're stressed out, that's part of the journey of this all. And that's when we can learn about what we can do when our number goes to the other numbers in stress or in growth. So the stress version is kind of like a rumble strip. You all of a sudden realize, wait a second, the more you're aware of yourself, I'm acting like a completely different person. Oh gosh, these are the characteristics of the number I go to in stress. And as a rumble strip, it's like, ooh, come back to center, time out, put yourself in timeout, and then work on becoming even an average version or higher. So the journey you're on, the numbers connected to you in healthy, average, or unhealthy versions of that number can also, there is kind of a little bit of complexity there because I could be an unhealthy version of an 8, but also in unhealth, I go to 5. So it's a little complicated, but again, they're all rumble strips to help you be your best version of yourself, okay? So getting back to center on that. Under stress, we're gonna start with type 1 here, okay? Type 1, so think of any type 1s in your life right now. Type 1s under stress start to exhibit some of the average to unhealthy characteristics of type 4. So 1s go to 4 in stress. They're feeling misunderstood and moody when they sense others do not take them or their values seriously. They turning their anger inward and feeling the melancholy and very temperamental, allowing themselves some indulgences, but then experiencing guilt afterwards. Right? So if you're 1, you know in areas of your life that you've had stress, and what I just explained will make total sense to you. Like, oh my gosh, I know when I was in a stage like that, or I'm in a stage like that right now. You know, it just happens, okay? Type 2s start to exhibit some of the average 2 unhealthy characteristics of type 8. So 2 goes to 8 in stress, which is an extreme. Think of the helper giver becoming the bossy challenger. So that's another one of those, whoa, what happened to my mother-in-law? Okay, so, and she knows this too, it's funny. Okay, so they can become irritable and aggressive and dominating. They become controlling of everyone and everything. They exhibit outbursts of anger, becoming more confrontational or withdrawing support from others. Like, I'm not going to help them. All right, which is against everything in their core of who they are. So again, it's a rumble strip. I'm going in the unhealthy version of myself. Okay, I'm stressed out. Type 3s go to the average or healthy uncharacteristics of type 9. So when I'm telling these unhealthy things too, and you hear the number they go to, and you are that number, I'm also telling you some unhealthy characteristics of yourself. Does that make sense? So 3s go to 9. So if you're a 9, this is what you look like unhealthy. They become disengaged, apathetic, and going on autopilot. They lose focus and drive. They involve themselves with busy work to give the appearance of accomplishment. They have feelings of little energy and passion, and they want to be left alone and given their space. All right, so 3s are normally very, they love people. They love being seen as the beautiful swan above the water. They don't want anybody to know what's going on with those little legs under the water. And so all of a sudden they're in this place of little energy and passion, and they want to be left alone. Rumble strip. Okay. Type 4s exhibit average to unhealthy characteristics of type 2s. They become overly involved and clingy. They try to manipulate others into loving them. They begin doing favors and reminding others of how they've supported them. I supported you in this. You should support me. Okay. So that's a 4 going to unhealthy too. Type 5s go to type 7, unhealthy 7s. They become hyperactive and scattered, taking on new projects impulsively, becoming distracted, uncommitted, and unreliable, which is totally opposite of who they are. 5s are extremely reliable, the neutral personality type of emotion. And all of a sudden they're hyperactive and scattered. What happened? All right. And of course, on a side note here, when you witness people's rumble strips, maybe don't tell them that you notice their rumble strips. It's like, maybe say, if they're familiar with this, like, go maybe have a little bit of a timeout for yourself, get a little regrouped here or something, figure out how to word it. Because if you're just like, dude, you are unhealthy, get out of here. Like I want to say to people in my life, that's not the best way to do it. Okay. So type 6, they go to the average or unhealthy characteristics of a type 3. So 6s go to 3 in stress, becoming competitive and arrogant, avoiding anxious feelings by staying busy. They're reluctant to try anything new if failure is a possibility. A lot of 6s, the worriers, the anxious worriers, when this whole pandemic thing happened, you saw the unhealthy version of them when they say, I told you you should have used your, the antibacterial washes more. And I knew you should have listened to me. This wouldn't have happened if everybody would have just been more careful and, washed their hands. That's an exact example of an unhealthier version of a 6. Okay. We all have it. All right. Now, type 7, average to unhealthy characteristics of a type 1. They become judgmental and perfectionistic. They become cynical and hypercritical to change people, blaming others for preventing their fun. Because remember, they want to have all the adventures of life and have all the fun. And now people are trying to rob their fun and they're mad, so that they're becoming judgmental. Okay. And so to be cynical when you're a 7 and you're always, silver lining everything and everything is roses and, every day is Easter and there's no Good Friday. And, it's like living like that. And then all of a sudden you've got this cynical, critical person. No good. Type 8, go to type 5. They become more secretive, suspicious, and fearful, becoming less in touch with their feelings and withdrawing from others. All right. We're barely in touch with our feelings anyway. So the fact that we become less in touch with our feelings is hysterical. Okay. But withdrawing more. All right. So worrying that others will betray or turn against them. So if you have an 8 friend who usually, is just a regular 8 and then they all of a sudden become a hermit, rumble strips. Okay. Type 9, average goes to the average or unhealthy type 6. Your mind will rev up and you'll think of all the worst case scenarios. You get irritable and defensive and nitpicky. Okay. Trying to get everything done that needs to be done, just trying to avert any kind of disaster that could come. Because remember, 6 are prepared for everything. All right. If you go over a bridge, they've already thought about what's going to happen if you guys go in the water. It's just what they do. So when the 9 becomes that unhealthy version of the 6, that's what they're doing. They'll just get nitpicky and get in there because they want to avoid any kind of disaster that could happen. Okay, so that's stress. How's everyone doing? Check it in. Good? Cordell, how you doing? Oh, good. You're still here. I'm so excited. All right, we lost Dennis. Hopefully he'll come back. Every time I looked down, I saw his smiling face. I was like, oh, he's smiling. Oh, that's his picture. Okay,
no, you didn't lose him. He had to go do a presentation himself, so he's going to catch the whole video. But he was really.
I'm sure he will, and I'm sure he'll have fun doing that too. But I love seeing his smiling face every time. I'm like, oh, I'm getting good positive feedback, and it was his still picture. I'll take it. Okay, so growth. Let's talk about growth now. But if you think about all those stress numbers, you guys, everybody like to figure out people's number during the stay-at-home stuff. I can't imagine that it's already, you're not supposed to figure out people's number on their own because we don't know their core motivation. They might be coming across as a chameleon or people pleaser. And so that's why you cannot guess. You really want people to figure it out on their own. So let's talk about growth, areas of growth and security you can go to in each number. Now I'm going to throw this backwards for you ones. It's okay, but I'm going to start backwards. I'm going to start with a 9. Okay, here we go. Type 9s will exhibit some of the healthier characteristics of a type 3. Realizing their true value, they begin to develop and invest in themselves. Believing their presence does matter, they begin to confidently express their views, opinions, and preferences, generously blessing the world with their talents, intelligence, and their heart. Their intelligence and their heart. Okay. Type 8, go to the healthier form of a 2. Again, this is another extreme. Think about the boss challenger all of a sudden now becoming this helpful giver. it's not fake. As crazy as it sounds, like, why does Di have all these feelings? And why is she being so caring and loving? Okay. It's not like I'm being fake. I've been told I'm one of the healthiest 8s that somebody has met before. And of course I go all over the place, but I worked really hard at this because I wanted to have friends. So type 8s go to the healthier 2. They become more patient and generous with others, expressing more empathy and compassion, opening up to others and revealing their vulnerability, right? So everything we don't like all of a sudden changes. The type 7, healthier characteristics of a 5. So 7s go to 5. They quiet their mind. Their overactive, adventurous, fun, always want the buffet of life mind can now be quieted a little, and they can learn to focus and relax in the moment, leaning in and addressing negative feelings, actually thinking about those negative, painful things that they never wanted to before. The healthier version allows them to, expressing more empathy, creativity, and depth. Type 6 characteristics go to the healthier characteristics of the 9. They're becoming more confident in themselves and more open to life and circumstances, becoming more empathetic and receptive to others and their views. Because remember, they have a view of the world and how they have a situation and everything's figured out for every situation that they've got. But now they're being more, open to other people's views that they might have. Like maybe theirs isn't the only way to fix this problem. And so it allows them to be that healthier version, learning to be more fully present and relaxed in the moment. Instead of as anxious, they become more relaxed. Type 5s exhibit healthier characteristics of type 8. See, we can be healthy. Become more self-confident and decisive, getting active and in touch with their body and their gut, using their gut a little bit more, trusting their instinct and becoming more assertive. That's the 5, goes to 8 in health. All right. Type 4 exhibits healthier characteristics of a type 1, becoming more objective and principled, becoming more grounded and present in the here and now. Because remember, 4s tend to be thinking of themselves a lot, and they're in that emotional melancholy and whatever that they're feeling about themselves more through all the feelings. But now they're going to be more present with the here and now of what's going on, becoming more practical and self-disciplined, now not allowing their emotions to control them as much. Type 3s go to the healthier characteristics of a type 6, becoming more cooperative and committed to others, becoming more aware of and more vulnerable with their feelings. Remember, they push their feelings away because feelings don't let them be successful and achieve things and be the workaholics and the successful people they want to be. So now they're thinking about those feelings more and more vulnerable with them, revealing who they really are behind those achieving masks that they wear. Because remember, they can be, their superpower is they can be a chameleon and be whoever they need to be in a room to win the crowd. So behind those achieving masks, they're revealing more of who they really are. A type 2, sorry, Siri wrote tattoo. Type 2, okay, goes to a healthier characteristic of a type 4, becoming more self-nurturing and emotionally aware, admitting and expecting painful feelings. Ugh. Okay, including anger, sadness, and loneliness, becoming more in tune with their inner world, expressing themselves more creatively. All right, so 2 in health goes to a type 4, taking care of themselves, which is something that they really neglect as a natural 2. Type 1s, last one here. They have their healthier characteristics of the 7. So 1s go to 7, which I love, because if you think of the 1s being more the detailed perfectionists, improvers, always trying to better the world, and then they go to that 7, the fun enthusiast. They're becoming less critical, more self-accepting, loving themselves better. They become more enthusiastic and optimistic, more spontaneous, and have more fun. Okay. All right. Yes, Christina.
All right, so I just want you to explain a little bit more. So, I mean, I totally get the stress and security and, where you go and what, and all that, but like explain the situation, like what, because I mean, I get the wings, but, and I get how you go there, but it's like, what makes, I mean, I understand when you're stressed, but like security, like, how do you know when you're in your security and you're taking on the qualities of the other number? Does that make
Mhm.
sense? What I'm trying
Yeah.
to ask?
Yeah, I think the stress and growth can be more of, I don't want to say extreme situations, but more when you've been in them for a long period of time. Like, I feel like I exhibit a lot of the healthy parts of the 8s going to 2 now, but I wasn't like that a lot. I feel like the more I was the healthiest version of my 8, all of a sudden then I started taking in these other characteristics that were just unlike what I was used to, with all the helping and giving and caring and feeling on all that stuff. So it's more of like a extreme. So like if you think PTSD and stress, you're more likely to be more of an unhealthier version of your number than to be in your stress number, unless it's been a long period of time. Does that make sense? Or you could be just really, really, really stressed out. So just kind of look at your number and see if, as a 6, if you are in stress, you're going to go to 3, right? Yeah. So you go to 3. So if you start becoming more arrogant, and thinking that you're always right and all that, that might make you realize that, hey, I'm definitely operating in a stress number, because I have other reports somewhere, but you can see like what an unhealthy 6 looks like and compare that to an unhealthy 3. And then you'll just see if you just need to kind of work on yourself a little bit, or if you're really operating out of your stress number.
I mean, I kind of can see the difference of switching back and forth with the stress. It's just the security, because, you're just going about life and then, and all of a sudden it's just like, I just start thinking more like a 9, and I'm like, okay, is that just because I'm at home and I'm relaxed and nothing, is it like situational, or is it just over a long-term time I start to take on that quality? So
I think it is more of a long-term thing, especially with the growth and the security thing, because it's your growth spot where you're going to grow to. Because you can always be a healthy version of a 6, but it's more, I don't want to say self-actualization, but that's kind of what's coming to mind here, where I'm thinking, where you become the hierarchy, the top of Maslow's thing of, self-actualization, where it's just like, you literally are becoming like one of the best versions of yourself. That's kind of what I think of with that.
Okay.
See, you can always be a healthy version of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easier and more natural if you truly are healthier in your mind. Okay, so any other questions on the growth? Okay, how are we doing? I'm always wanting to know how you guys are doing. Doing all right? Okay.
Doing very good. On that growth, real quick, what was the 4 number? 4 goes to what?
4 goes to type 1.
1. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you're hitting these dead on for the 8 thing for me. If I'm stressed out, like on the extreme level, I call it going dark. I will ghost the entire world in a heartbeat and gone.
Which is good though, because if you think about our number, we don't want our unhealthy number out in the world, let alone, to be seen at all. Like we don't even like our unhealthy versions of our numbers.
Now on the growth side, on the extreme end, again, if I'm in a really the best time, even my kids, my wife, everybody knows, if I'm in a really super happy, good mood, ask me for anything then. And because hey, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, everybody gets a car kind of thing. I just go, and that can actually not be so good too, because often in that extreme, I'll crash hard.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You'll go back to your 8ness. Hopefully not to the 5.
No, usually to my 8ness, and then I'm like, hey, about that car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Diane, for growth, 7 goes to what?
In growth, 7 goes to 5.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, if you look online, like I said, it looks like some cult figure, but there's a picture and it has all 9 of the numbers, and then there's arrows going all over. So it'll show you, obviously your wings are the numbers next to you, and it'll show you arrows going where you go in like stress, and arrows coming towards you when you go, or you're in security, or it might be the other way around, but there are little charts that you can actually see that'll show you what number goes to what. But I'm telling you, I'm not a toot my own horn kind of person, but I love this chart that you're going to get, the chart that I did on Excel, because it's such a quick reference point. I mean, this thing is mangled because I've used it so many times. And a funny little thing, I met with somebody for lunch. I won't say her name, but I met with her and she said, we were talking Enneagram a little bit. She was just learning about it. And she's just like, I feel like you know everything about me. And it's really weird. Like, because if you know somebody's number, you can know so much. And I mean, it's not that I turn into a counselor, but I can relate with them and I can understand them better. And I love it because it helps me to get deeper with them. And me being an 8, I don't want to be vulnerable. So you don't need to know about me. I'm completely fine with just knowing everything about you. If you want to know, just ask.
Hey, Diane, who could have that been?
Oh, actually, I'm talking about somebody else, but we did the same thing too. We did the same thing too. I almost feel like, yeah, it was you, but it was somebody else too.
I know.
Apparently I've had a couple of these. Yeah, but also though, what's nice though is because I am an 8, it's a genuine, authentic. You know that I'm not going to use that against you or any of that, so I don't worry about that kind of stuff. But people feel safe talking to me about that stuff. Ellen, we will get you. I will make you feel safe. Dang it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I've got a lot of checks on a lot of different sections, but now I understand why, because some could be a weakness, some could be, because the arrows go in different places.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It'll kind of help you figure out what version of yourself you're in right now too.
Yeah. But the most important thing you say is the core. So, yeah. Is there when you went through each one of those things, was that the core of each thing that you shared when you
at the beginning? Yes. That was the core motivation is the thing I shared in the beginning of the class. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. No problem. I'll share the chart a little bit. Again, I don't know if I don't think there's typos on it. I've had it so long. I've had enough ones tell me where my typos are. And I say that with love because I need my ones. I'm going to screen share. If I can find it here. Here's the Enneagram chart. Can you guys see it?
Only part of it.
Yeah, because I've got it zoomed out. There we go. Okay. So can you see it? Yeah. Okay. So basically this is what you'll get. And so it'll tell you the numbers at the top, and then it tells you where their time orientation is, their first reaction, what triad they're in, common desires, what they repress. Take a screenshot if you want. You'll get it later though. But then what their weakness is, where they go in stress, security. And then the second page is their wings. If they're more of a 1 wing 9, 1 wing 2, whatever, the message they want to hear, and then what they're motivated by. Those are all on there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to jump into the next thing, and the teacher in me knows if I leave this up much longer, you're not going to listen to me anymore. So, hello. Okay. So what we're going to talk about now is we're going to go with time orientation and our repressed centers. So like how I say, I have to remind myself I have feelings. Okay, so you're going to learn what you need to remind yourself of based on your number. Okay, so repressed centers, what we don't want to think about, and our time orientation go together, right? So you're either feeling, doing, or thinking repressed, and you are either past, present, or future oriented. Okay, so we're going to talk about the 3s, 7s, and 8s first. So 3, 7, and 8. They are feeling repressed, like I've been saying, okay? So they have feelings, but they don't process information with feelings. Put them aside to achieve what they want. That's what we do, push them aside. We're future oriented, so we're in the future, because there aren't many feelings in the future yet, except for maybe hope and excitement. So our reference point is people outside of themselves to reshape situations and people in the future. Our reference point is outside of ourselves to reshape situations and people in the future. So if you come with me to the problem, I can be all bubbly about it because I'm thinking in the future. This is something we can fix. There's hope for this. There's excitement for this. We can do something about this. Let's focus on that, right? So 3s, 7s, and 8s, that's what we do. So you need to learn to be present to certain emotional situations though, as a 3, 7, or 8. 3s take in with feelings, because remember, they're in that heart triad, but it doesn't help them be productive. So push it away. But they don't use feelings to process through things. They turn the feelings into motivations to plow through them and achieve what they want to do. So take time to ask how someone might have felt about a situation instead of just solving the problem for them if you're a 3. Take the time to ask them, how did you feel about that? See, that sounds awful to me. I don't want to know how you feel. But this is how we get to grow, okay, and become the best version of ourselves in caring for people, right? But fully engage and sit in that uncomfortable, longer, just to fully learn to connect with people. 7s have a half range of emotions. They love positive and they avoid negative as much as possible. So they'll reframe the situations very easily, silver lining everything. So take some time as a 7 to visualize being sad, lonely. You don't have to feel them, just visualize it, which will sound awful to a 7, right? They want no pain. So why would I do that? But again, you're going to try to visualize being sad and lonely and depressed, whatever. But don't actually feel the feelings. Just dip your toe in the water a little bit to start preparing, because life requires negative emotions. So some things obviously cannot be controlled. So if you can handle them better, then you'll be able to move forward better when they do actually happen, right? 8s are really passionate about everything that they do, but passion is not a feeling, right? It's an outward expression of feelings. We're great at mimicking, not really processing any feelings. So as 8s, we need to slow down and work on understanding the feelings and passion. Be patient to understand others' feelings, not just grinning and bearing it to get through it. Oh my gosh, I could talk so much about this. Okay, so just understanding their feelings and really feeling with them, getting into their feelings has really helped me. It's like, I'm going to really try to understand this, because actually as 8s, we're very diplomatic. So we can really, I'm always devil's advocate. Most people in my life hate it because I'll always try to put myself in the other person's shoes to understand why they did what they did, to help understand their feelings better. Okay, so we work on that, not grinning and bearing through it, okay? Jerry, I've seen you laughing at me most of this presentation. It's been great. Okay, there we go. So 4s, 5s, and 9s are past oriented and they're doing repressed. So they don't like to do, okay? Hold on, 4, 5s, and 9s. 4s. They think first, okay? So 4s, 5s, and 9s think first, they feel second, and they remind themselves they're supposed to act and do something, okay? So they're in the past orientation because it's comfortable in the past, because then they don't have to do anything there, okay? Their reference point is in themselves. They withdraw inward, always going inward. More control there if they can draw inward. They have lots of time thinking and feeling, but they lack confidence or initiative. 4s are always longing, right? Longing for this, longing for that. They're thinking about what they want to do instead of doing them, especially mundane things like house chores and stuff. You have to, as a 4, you need to set a time to do things and start with the thing you want to do least to just get it over with. That's the pushing through, making yourself the best version of yourself. It gives you more freedom and then less worry about it. Just get it done, okay? But scheduling it, because remember, you're going to want to repress that. You don't want to do it. 5s do a lot of planning to do planning, all right? They will plan to redo things many, many, many times. With them, they want to set times to gather and plan everything, but then actually set a time to take an action on it, all right? I think with action, the easiest thing to do is set up somebody come into your house, or something is going to happen, because it will force the action to happen and you'll have to do it then. Learning you don't need to know everything before you get started is another problem that 5s will have, because they want to know everything. My dad is a genius. He is a 5. He knows everything. I told him he should go on Jeopardy. Oh, I don't know enough. I wouldn't be prepared. I don't know. I could never do that. Yet when we play Trivial Pursuit with him, we make him answer all 6 questions in the middle to win. He has to answer all 6 questions correctly on the card to win. Yet he doesn't know enough to go on Jeopardy, because 5s always believe they don't know enough. Okay. All right. So then 9s, they know what needs to be done, but what's mine to do? And what order do I do them in? So they don't know if it's something they should do for themselves or if it should be for somebody else or what order to do it in. They're constantly distracted by what's right in front of them. So so as a 9, you need to find a trusted force or a trusted source who's not a 4, 5, or 9. Don't go getting advice from somebody who doesn't want to do anything either. Okay, as bad as that sounds. The ones that have to push themselves to do things, that's not your person. Okay, when you're trying to get organized here. All right. So you want to learn or help yourself to learn to put things in order for you. Have someone help you with that so you can start doing what actually needs to be done and that's yours to do. Okay, you guys good? Okay, 1s, 2s, and 6s are in the present moment. They're present, okay? They are thinking repressed, right? And their big thing they do first is they feel. So 1s, 2s, and 6s feel first, then they do things, and then they remind themselves they're supposed to think about it. 1s, 2s, and 6s, every single one of them will tell you, well, that's not right. I think all the time. I am constantly thinking all the time. Well, they're thinking repressed in the present because they're most comfortable in real time because they don't have to think about what happened before or what could happen. So they're not in that anxious part of it where they're thinking about, oh my gosh, well, this happened. And oh my gosh, what if this happens? They're present minded. They're right now because that's safest for them as a 1, 2, or 6. Their reference point is outside of themselves, so other people. The thinking that they're doing, that they say, I think all the time. Why are you telling me I'm thinking repressed? It's because the thinking that you're doing is unproductive. Okay? Remember, no feelings filter here. I'm just saying it as it is, okay? The thinking is unproductive. 1s are thinking with their inner critic. So they're literally having argument to commentary going on in their head all the time. And they actually said for 1s to name your inner critic. Name her or him. I'm talking to Sally right now or whatever, you know? She's my inner critic. We're having a conversation right now. Argument to commentary, okay? But it's unproductive thinking. It's not taking them in the direction that they need to go in. 2s are always thinking about relationships. So they're thinking a lot, but again, it's unproductive. It's thinking about relationships of what did I do wrong? Did I say the right thing to that friend? She said she was going to call me today and we just had lunch and she didn't call me. So did I say something wrong? Is she still my friend? Is she mad at me? All unproductive thinking going on in that 2's mind because they're thinking about those relationships. So instead, a 2 should find a hobby to think about instead of thinking about relationships all the time, and maybe do some quick relationship check-ins. Hey, how are we doing? I didn't say anything to upset you, did I? Or we're still good, right? Whatever. Do some kind of check-ins with them to make sure that you can kind of let that, thinking part of it go away. All right, and then 6s are very anxious and thinking a lot about things that probably won't happen, okay? So they say with 6s to be able to help them to journal what you're anxious about and see what actually happened and see how you handled it. So if you're anxious about something, write it down in a journal, what you think is going to happen, and then come back to it later and see, well, you know what, that did happen. So I'm glad I was prepared for it and how I handled it. Or that didn't happen, okay, it's the awareness of maybe I shouldn't be thinking about it quite as much, right? It helps you then to learn to trust yourself better. And if you have a 6 in your life, I think I said this in the last one, but I think it's really important. People who are worriers or who are anxious, it's really important to let them go through what they think is going to happen. If they think a meteor is going to hit the earth, or more recently, they think they're going to die of COVID or get really sick from COVID, let them talk it out a little bit and ask them, who's going to be there with you to support you through that? If that does happen, who is in place to help you through it, and let them think about it. Because if you brush off a 6 and tell them their worries unwarranted, you've lost them. You've lost their a lot of trust with you. You're not authentic to them anymore. It's like you just lose a lot. So it's really important to know that about them. Okay.
We're at 12:58, just to let everybody know. I do not mind if this goes a little longer, 12:15, 12:20. I'm good till about that time.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Because I don't know why I thought it went till 1:15, but it's okay. I literally only have a little bit left too that I could say.
Past 1. Peter, you said 12:15. You meant 1:15.
Yeah. Yeah. That's his wing 1 there, just so you know. Okay. Speaking Enneagram. Okay. So then let's go then. All right. So how is each number affected by the culture we live in? Okay. 3s, 7s, and 8s, they can keep up in our fast-paced culture. Okay. because they have a constant focus on the future. Sometimes it's an excuse to not have to focus on something in the present. Like, oh, I have to focus on getting this done, or I have to plan for this in the future. So there's no times for emotions or feelings. So they kind of have got to work on that. 4, 5s, and 6 in our culture are struggling with the past. Too much to do, and there's just not enough time to do it all. So they use the fast-paced culture as an excuse. There's just not enough time. It's just too much right now. I'm just going to zone out and I'll do it later. Okay, so again, these are more rumble strips of thinking. What is it that you can fix about yourself? 1s, 2s, and 6s, or awareness, I should say. We all don't need fixing. I think it's just all part of growth. 1, 2s, and 6 are so focused on others and wanting to do things for them, they won't pause to consider if they're doing is even theirs to do. Should I be doing this? Because their reference point is outside of themselves, so they forget to think about themselves and what might actually be good for them. Okay. Then the only other thing that I had in here that I wanted to talk about quickly was just, I'm going to actually, this won't be on the video though through the recording, but I'm going to put in the chat right now a website. That it should have been a hyperlink. Why was it not a hyperlink? Can you guys click on that? Is it a hyperlink? Well, that's lame. Okay, so anyways, I went in. If you highlight it and put it in Google, it should pop up. But basically, it's the EnneagramInstitute.com, and it talks about relationships and type combinations. So you go down to type 1, and then you can say you're with a 9. And you click on it, and it'll give you literally like a printout of what you can learn about your number with another type. So that'll help you with relationships that you might be in. Because healthy people make healthy relationships. This is kind of what I was going to end with. So all types can be in relationships together. Like you guys were asking, I was hearing like that people wanted to know, like, are there different types that work better with each other? And it's really, healthy people make healthy relationships. So the Enneagram forces and underlying motivations of each number, not an outward behavior. So when you can focus on the motivations of that number that you have to work with at work or, in a networking event or whatever, it's not an outward behavior that you're talking about. You're talking about what they're motivated by. So if you can understand them better, then all types can work together. And you can learn more about that. What I typed or put in the chat is where you can go for learning about how to work specifically with a specific number. So, any questions?
Not questions so much as comments, but yeah, sitting here with another 8, at least that's a little bit more comfortable, because I do not like people knowing too much about what's going on in here other than myself. So, and like you, again, HR is, when you're in interview mode, oh, that's so simple. That's so easy. It's very comfortable. It really is. But doing the whole 8-9 thing, I can relate to that through having to keep peace, having to babysit. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
And you do have to be extremely careful insofar as how I had to be extremely careful insofar as how I would communicate with people, rather than saying, you're over 18, pull your big boy pants up.
Yeah.
And do what you got to do. Enough of this.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Yep. I wish everyone walked around with their
It
Enneagram
should,
number
but it doesn't.
on their chest. What was that?
It should work, but it doesn't.
Right. It should, but it doesn't. No, it just creates
No,
more problem when you tell people to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, when you can pause and have some self-reflection, then if you can understand your motivations and your behaviors better, then you can help to deal with other, numbers. But there's different versions of health of each number too. You're going to click with different people, and you'll understand why. Like Christina and Frank were talking about how there's a lot of 3, 6, 9. They're like in a group together with a lot of this, and in their families and in-laws and whatever, all that. And so it makes it easier because they all understand each other, because they go to different versions of health and stress and different things in theirs. And so you'll find that there are some people you relate to better for sure than others.
It's fun. So last night we were sitting, because it was so nice outside, we were sitting out on our patio with the neighbors, and very nice people. We've known them for about 9 months now, whatever. I don't sit there and look at people and try to figure out their number.
Of course.
But
I do.
but somebody else does.
I do.
So, and we've spent time with our neighbors prior to this, but for some reason last night after they left, Christina was all excited because she figured out what our neighbor is.
Great.
Don, he's a 1. And after she started going through all this stuff, I sat there and went, hell yeah, he sure is. And it makes perfect sense because it's exactly what it is. And it's very fun. It's fun when you can understand those things about people, because then it makes it a lot easier to sit there and smile and nod when they're rambling on.
Well, because like what he did was he just was talking about, he's always, correcting, like this is how you should do that. And, and Frank was kind of get a little irritated. It's just kind of like roll his eyes. And I'm like, and so then it's like, he's a 1. So when he's only trying to make you better. He just wants to make you better. So you just gotta, smile and nod, like he said, and take what you want. So,
which is so funny though, the irony in this, when you corrected Peter on the time. So like, think about that, because you wing 1 because you're 9.
I know.
So it's, you can see.
Yeah, being helpful because people were going 12:15. Wait, it's way past that already.
Yeah. No,
I
knew what was going on in my head.
The I looked at was my watch and went, wait, 12:15. Huh?
I knew what was going on in my head, and I'm just, okay, we're going, here's what we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I said the 12 instead of the 1.
I heard it right away, but I just, and I knew what you meant, but I wasn't going to correct anybody, especially an 8.
It didn't bother me a bit though, that Frank corrected it, because that helps everybody else out. Not a problem. He knew where I was going, and so.
And Christina wasn't going to correct you because you're an 8.
Yeah, well, yeah. Actually, believe it or not, I don't mind. If you're right, I will definitely look into it. But no, I was raised by a stepmom that said, "Did you know what I meant?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "Well, then you don't need to correct me." That was her 9 wing 8, right at me. But anyways, I learned a lot from that. But I appreciate too, guys, that Pete put in the chat the Enneagram 1, the type combinations, and then he also put the first Enneagram 1.
Thank you,
the video.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comments now.
Do another one.
I don't know. I mean, I'll talk about this stuff forever, because the only other part of my notes that I had that I didn't get to was in relationships, like how different numbers relate to different people in different relationships. But like we were saying earlier too, you're not supposed to be able to guess people's numbers, but there will be things that they do that make it so obvious that that's what they are. And so then you can kind of get an idea that, like you said, like your neighbor is a 1. And the thing is though, if they're completely stressed, if they're like a sharp 1, they could then be whatever number goes to 1 in stress.
Well, and it's taking that information. He's 71. And it's like, I'm not going to sit there and try to help him to understand the Enneagram and all that stuff. But just for us to communicate with him and do things with him. I mean, that's just kind of like the whole point of learning it.
And for our own entertainment.
Well, but then you know.
Ones, I'm telling you, I know quite a few 1s that have, and 70-year-olds that have actually really enjoyed this, because what else do they have to do? Like, it's great. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I have a lot of retired parents right now where they're just like, I don't know what we're doing. So then they've jumped into this more because it's something to, learn a little bit about. So you never know.
Right.
You never know. He might want to learn a little bit more about it. But.
Well, it's just fun to be able to understand his motivation by the things by what he says. And it makes me less anxious, I guess. Yes, that was my motivation for knowing everybody's number.
To help you figure out him a little bit more. Because then you can,
And I'll throw out, if you want to we can do it outside the scope of a lunch and learn, because lunch and learns are so incredibly popular among our chamber members. We're scheduling now all in September. It's just that far out. But if you want to do an Enneagram on relationships, and I mean, we can figure out a way to fit that in somewhere, and we just do it outside the scope of a lunch and learn.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I don't really care when we do it. I mean, obviously, I love diving into this stuff, and I love preparing for it. So
yeah, and I mean, even in I mean, I'm really interested in the relationship part thing, because I'm not really sure what my wife's number is. I thought I knew at first, but
you thought she was a 1.
Yeah, and she is very much on the you do it this way, this way, this way, this way, and this way. But I mean, she might be, maybe she just wings real hard.
Well, you could ask her. Do you have her do the questions? Like that's what we did for my
Well, I
kids.
had her do the questions without really knowing what she was doing.
Okay. Have them answer it like they were in their 20s, and how would you answer this, yes or no? And then that will help them to obviously figure out what they are.
Yeah, she doesn't like being told to do this thing.
You know, that's what, see, nobody likes to be told what to do. We don't even like telling ourselves what to do. So I think it's important to just say, hey, I'm really trying to learn about this. And I think it would be really great for our relationship. So when you get a chance, you know, if you could look through these, I'd really appreciate it. You know, and
that's a good way to phrase that.
Yeah.
So
yes. So, okay, well, perfect. Well, if you guys think of anything else, let me know.
Thank you, Diane.
Stop recording if you want.
Okay. Yeah,
Thanks,
excellent.
Diane.
Diane, it was really good. I'm very confused now, but it was really good. No. I'm just-